moments that usually sort of culminate at the end of the story. And so here Eivor, or Viking Raider,
The combat
is
looks
taking
like really
both
fast.
raiders and Fyrds into Bird Castle.
I want to say canned
go
animations, but
and take down Rued and his clan.
So who exactly is Rued?
It's
and why does
more like
Eivor sort of want to pick a fight with him?
well, less
Basically,
realistic. I could
Rued
say
comes into play
more
about
like
halfway through
accelerated
the story arc, where
for
at the beginning
arcadey
of
would
the
be the
arc,
word.
this is something that happens before.
Like
Rued
just seeing
basically
Need for
causes a lot
Speed
of
and
turmoil
Forza,
within the territory, and
like just
Oswald,
sharper
who's the sort
and
of
more like
elderman to be to inherit this territory, needs your
enhanced.
help to take him down.
Because like with
Oswald
Origins
hasn't
and
just
Odyssey, like
been
you have to do
defeated in
like these
previous
long
quests,
rolls
so
and these
here
like
this is
really
revenge, but
charged
also
hits.
accomplishing
And
your
this one you
ultimate
just
goal.
kind of like
So Fizz, as you're talking,
if you want
we're
to attack,
seeing
you
some of the
attack.
combat
Kind of thing.
of Valhalla. Can you tell us a little bit about the changes to combat this time around?
We wanted to basically add a lot of new mechanics to it. So we added like some dual wielding for the player, like a stun system in there. And we really needed to do this to sort of portray that sort of the brutality that comes with being a Viking in this day and age. So it sort of fits into that the time and the character.
Oswald. He lives. Oswald lives!
Eivor, is that you? Shut your ass, twig spine.
Here, Eivor has taken her entire army through the assault, and finally it's revealed that our Elderman, our ally, Oswald, is still alive, and Rued has him captive.
So this is what it comes to, Wolfkist? Two Danes fighting over a filthy Saxon whoreson? If this swine is your prize, come and get him.
There we go, some parkour.
So now that we've seen that Oswald is alive, we have Rued within our sights. What's the
So
next
who the
step?
like
So the
where the
next
temp
move for
bosses
Eivor is
When
to
did this happen?
finally face
What
off
time
against
period is
Rued. She has her allies. They can take care of the rest of the army. Now it's time to go one-on-one against Rued in one of our boss battles, actually.
Your battle is not yet won, Oswald.
And it's worth pointing out, actually, that here what we're showing is the player going and facing off against Rued aggressively, but we tend to always have to support a 360-degree approach in these things. So the player could have approached this a little bit more stealthy and gotten at least like a good critical hit on either Rued or his wolf, and so you can play this a little bit more strategically if that's your playstyle.
Oh, why's he healing?
So we're not only fighting Rued here, but also his pet wolf, right?
Here, one of my preferred strategies is to eliminate the wolf first, just focus fire on him. It takes at least one opponent out of the combat. Now, Rued will have extra abilities that come into play if you do eliminate his wolf, but I think having one opponent less in the battlefield makes for a good
Viking
strategy
Age. Alright,
in the
there we
whole.
go. So 793
Only the cold guard of
AD.
Niflheim awaits you.
Valhalla is my destiny. That fate will not be met today. Why doesn't they should be roomed, Wolf-kissed? Made thralls, not treated as equals. We are better than this, than all of them.
Do not drag me down to the sewage you wallow in.
Why does a Dane fight tooth and nail for a Saxon? You'd throw in with these wastrels? These arrogant swine?
Eivor, no! He
Leif
should be
Erikson.
tried before God, a lawful assembly.
All right, so we've defeated Rued, we've freed Oswald. What comes next?
I won't have
Oswald,
my
in
way
this case,
dealing with
prefers
blood spilled when
for
it's needed.
Rued to be kept alive, and so you basically have to choose: are you going to go against his wishes or stay true to your nature?
So we have this choice to make, but before we get into that, I want to rewind a little bit because we just did this big, grand assault, but Eivor couldn't have done it alone. She clearly had to recruit some folks along the way, get some troops, get some allies. So let's actually rewind and see how we went about first gathering those troops.
Right. So when coming up to an assault, it's a game of numbers. Eivor can go into pretty much any location and be a stealthy Viking, eliminating some of the assets, which ultimately would be a strategy. You can do that. and you'll have some of the ingredients or of the assets there that will have been sabotaged, but you still need a army. So here what we're seeing is Eivor going around the countryside and raising what we call a Fyrd, which is the men and the women of the territory who come up and fight in the name of a king. So here Eivor is going around and trying to convince people to fight in the name of Oswald to finally take down the oppressor that is Rued.
Defending East Anglia, defending you. Will you not do the same?
What? Die in defense of a lost cause?
Yeah, so he's really using like the image and like the leadership that Oswald had, what he meant to the people. In his name, she's going to recruit these people.
Pretty words, Dane. But the men of Theovard have their own battles to fight.
So we're told by this Reeve that there are troops, there are allies that he could add to our cause. But first, we sort of need to do him a favor. Is that right?
Yeah, so obviously these people have been run down by Rued and the impact he's had on the territory. So I think a lot of these people
trying to
have
log
sort
into
of lost
Ubisoft
hope.
again.
And so
You
you
play.
need to show them that there is hope. And so here Eivor is basically helping them take back one of their prized locations by taking a couple men and raiding a nearby township, basically taking it back for the people and showing that there's a reason to continue fighting and then get them on your side.
That's clean.
When Eivor does this, obviously you have access to a full suite of abilities. So again, the improvements that we've done to the fight system. You have
weird,
some
though.
brutal axe throwing in there. You have archery or like range combat abilities in there as well. So really, again, like depending on what your playstyle is, you can customize your loadout and go in there how you wish.
Fizz, we just saw
Yeah,
this
you know,
giant
yeah. The one
crystal
thing
out.
that
What
I
exactly
really
is that?
didn't.
So
it's
that
not-
is actually
it's
this is
not
what we call the
necessarily
Odin
the thing I
side. The
don't
Odin
like.
side is basically our interpretation of the eagle vision from previous games. And we
Yeah,
thought
so
it was
something I
good
found
to
weird
sort
is
of
that
bring
there
back.
is no.
It's basically Eivor's
I mean,
intuition. It's how she
it's like-
perceives the world. When Blair
Yeah, so
uses
there's
that,
no
you
kind of
can-
like
it'll highlight
way to
basically
escape
interactive
from
objects, like things that
a-
will bring her an advantage. So
a
we'll have
chase.
arrows, like health
when people
consumables
are
that are in
chasing
there.
you or like
So it
evade
really is
someone
like a
really
good
quickly.
way of sort of
In these, newer
understanding
games.
the world and showing you like things that you can go and touch.
And like in Odyssey
Yeah, I mean,
or
speaking of things we can
in
touch, we just picked up this awesome
Origin,
weapon.
It's something we
like, if you
wanted
want to run away
play
from
with
someone, you have to
on
run away in
Assassin's
a straight
Creed
line
Valhalla,
along the ground.
where we have fewer weapons in the game.
But in like
but you
Unity
can
and all the
invest
other
in
ones,
them
like
once they
there's a
become
verticality
your
when you want to
weapon.
run away from
And
someone.
so
Like you can
depending
climb
what
up a building
your
and
preferred
then run along the
play
rooftop.
style is, or your preferred weapon type, then you
And
can
it doesn't
go
seem like
and
there'll be
choose,
too
I'm
many
gonna-
like buildings
I'm
in this
gonna
game,
fight with this weapon and invest heavily
which
into
is something
that.
I've just gotten
Not
used
only
to
are
in
we
like
looting
Assassin's Creed
weapons, but we
games.
see something here
Like
called
climbing
Book of
up to
Knowledge.
get away rather
Tell
than
us a
just
little bit more
running.
about that.
They unlock skills for players. So here you can
That's cool,
see
though.
the Valkyrie dive that has just been unlocked. We have these spread out throughout the world. So again, to promote exploration and discovery, as you travel through the world and you explore locations, you can find these books that will add abilities that you can go and invest in, put into your loadout, then go into the different locations or the different quests in the game and use those depending on what your playstyle is.
Now we've recaptured this village, we've secured more troops for our assault. Let's jump back now and figure out what we want to do with Rued.
The rightful king of East Anglia has spared your life today, and so it will be.
Compassion is a virtue suited for anyone, Eivor, including you. Thank you.
Eivor decided to let him live. Rued is really angry about that. Being a Norse Viking, being put to the death in battle is your road to Valhalla. So he was basically denied access to Valhalla in this situation. Obviously, all of these decisions come into play later on in the game, so we have very difficult decisions for the player to make. We didn't want to have easy decisions.
Yeah, you know, when I was playing, I decided to listen to Oswald and spare Rued's life, but what exactly is the relationship like between Eivor and Oswald?
So the relationship between Eivor and Oswald is an alliance. It's basically Eivor is surrounded by territories that initially getting into England are hostile towards her, and obviously if you want to set up a new settlement, you want to make sure that your neighbor is friendly. So here in East Anglia, Oswald is the man for the job, where putting him into a position of power would help her sort of secure her territory. So earlier on to the territory, Eivor comes in here, meets Oswald. The problems he had with Rued are sort of put to light, and going through the arc, you basically help him deal with Rued and aligning basically Danes with Saxons in one
you know,
territory.
I've seen enough.
So Fizz, we've completed.
I'm gonna get the game
assault. We've
anyways.
gotten our
I
hands
don't
dirty
see
with some
myself not
combat,
getting the game.
taken
Same
down
with
Rued.
Watch Dogs
We have
Legion.
this big open region of East Anglia. So before we head off to Oswald's wedding, what do you say?
Because I mean,
we
I don't
head
see
out, have
anything
some
new that
fun,
they can show me that
and see
would
what we
blow
can
me
get
away in
into
this
the open
gameplay.
world.
Like,
That sounds great.
I already kind of know what
So
I can
we
assume from
see
the
a
game.
cat here with a speech bubble above it, and
Other than this.
you best believe if you let me talk to a cat, I'm gonna talk to a cat.
Yeah, these are some of our some of
Alright.
my favorite moments
Yeah,
actually
that's
in
cool.
the game, where we put out a whole bunch of
Nice,
events
nice.
throughout the
Yeah,
territory.
what a bit.